So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the UC TAP and UC TAG webinar hosted by the Transfer Opportunity Program. My name is Fabian Meneses, and I'm one of the assistant directors for the Transfer Opportunity Program, also known as TOP. I am joined today by my colleague Jacqueline Ross and our amazing student outreach ambassadors, Emily and Sydney. We will be recording this particular webinar, and then Emily, Jacqueline, and Sydney are going to be adding links in the chat for you all. But as a reminder, please use the Q&A feature in the Zoom link to add any questions you may have, and we will allocate some time towards the end to answer them. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So here's a quick overview of our discussion tonight. We will be reviewing some common terms that you will hear throughout the presentation or throughout your educational career as you embark in the transfer process. Next, we will review UC transfer requirements. Then I'll go over the benefits of having a UC planner, transfer admissions planner, which is also known as a TAP, along with discussing the requirements for the transfer admissions guarantee, which is known as TAG. And then I will also review what we consider are impacted majors or selective majors. That just means that they're super popular. And then we'll discuss some additional requirements that we require or that we look for admissions. And we will wrap up the presentation with some of the resources and really just show you how to use these resources and links. And then we will explore a little bit more about the requirements, specifically the timeline. Okay. So first things first, before going into the admissions requirements across the UC system, we would like to just really define a lot of the terminology you're going to hear. So when I say CCC, that stands for California Community College. So there's about 116 across the entire state. And there's also the California Virtual College, CVC, another great resource to tap into. UC TAP stands for the UC Transfer Admissions Planner, and the UC TAP is a free online planner and tool that allows you to keep track of your progress towards meeting the UC requirements. Most importantly, the TAP serves as where the TAG application is. And if you're interested in submitting a TAG, you must have a TAP. So please remember to fill it out, your TAP accurately. And this will allow us, the UC reps, to do a pre-evaluation of your eligibility. TAG stands for the Transfer Admissions Guarantee. So the TAG guarantees you admissions to one of the TAG participating UC campuses. So if you apply for TAG and meet the requirements, you are guaranteed admissions to the campus you tagged for, as long as you uphold the conditions of that agreement. We will go into that a little bit more throughout this presentation. Selective, capped, screening, impacted majors indicates that the major has very specific courses or a specific set of GPAs requirements or specific deadline. Campuses that refer to these majors as selective, capped, or screening majors, even though different campuses may use different terms, the meaning is basically the same. As a transfer applicant, you need to know if your major falls into this category so that you could plan accordingly, okay? Lastly, articulation agreement. So this is a formal agreement between two institutions of higher education that determine the equivalency of a specific course. So I want you to think about this like the faculty from one institution and the faculty from the other institution have agreed that the coursework content and everything in between equates to the exact same course, and that is why it's considered articulated. Okay, so just throwing that out there early. Now, I want to pivot our attention to looking at the minimum general admissions requirements to be considered a junior level transfer across the UC system. So for units, the minimum unit requirement for junior level applicants is 60 semester or 90 quarter units for UC transferable credit. Some campuses may allow to be considered less than 60 semester or 90 quarter, But if you want to be competitive, you really should just prepare to reach the junior level standing, which is 60 transferable semester or 90 quarter units. GPA wise, the 2.4 is the minimum GPA that is considered for admissions to the UC. But some campuses have a higher GPA minimums. Specifically here at UC Davis, the minimum overall GPA to apply is a 2.8 for all non-engineering majors, and a 3.1 for all engineering majors and computer science. To be, again, competitive as a transfer student, you must strive for a high GPA in completion of your major preparation coursework, so you're prepared to transfer. So please note that for TAG, the transfer admissions guarantee, that may have a higher threshold of criteria than general admissions. And again, we will review the TAG requirements later in this presentation. Lastly, the 7-course pattern. So the 7 courses are basically important classes or coursework that you need to take. So one of those courses needs to be a mathematical concepts math, 2 courses in at least English composition or critical thinking, and at least 4 courses in the areas of the arts, humanities, social, behavioral sciences, or even physical or biological sciences. Again, 7 classes is not enough to get you to the 60 units, but it's part of the 60 that you have to do anyways to make sure that you're eligible. So I'll go ahead and pass it over to my colleague, Jacqueline, who will talk about the TAP.
Great. Thank you, Fabian. Yes, so Transfer Admission Planner is a wonderful tool for you, the student, and also for us on the campuses who get to advise you. First slide on this, please. So this is a fantastic way to go in and start keeping a live record of your community college work or work that you're doing at other colleges in here. So it starts with this page to get in there so you can have a nice secure login with your own password. And you'll see the URL there at the bottom for this site. And all the University of California campuses can use this. So any of us that you're working with, the admissions officers, they're going to ask you, hey, did you start a UC TAP? And you said, yes, I did, because you're right on top of it. And we'll go in there and we'll look at it and we can discuss your course forward from there. Next slide. So it's a free online tool for you, no cost associated with this. It helps you track and plan your coursework and helps take us along with you as your advisors. It's for California community college students. It's also for, anybody that's thinking of transferring in, coming in in September with the transfer admission guarantee from community colleges, or also who's applying generally from UC admission in November. When can you create this TAP account? Really anytime. I would say do it now. Even if you have any friends or family that are in high school and taking community college courses, they can also embark on this and it will be useful for them. So we encourage everybody to do it. It keeps a lot of the hassle of like throwing transcripts back and forth over the email. It just centralizes everything and streamlines it. Next slide, please. So the benefits of it also is that you can receive communication about upcoming events and visits from our UC representatives, as well as your community college counselors. It migrates your courses easily from your account to the actual UC application. And if you have been very active with a number of community colleges, it does create a central repository for all that work in there. If you're going to do a transfer admission guarantee with us, the TAP is actually required. So might as well do it. Might as well get out there and get a fresh start on keeping track of all your good work and make sure that you log everything in there so that you don't short yourself on any of the time and energy that you've put in. Next slide, please. So here's the homepage for the UC TAP, and you'll see that you can come in here and let us know about the term, the campuses that you're headed towards, keep track of your status. You'll notice on the right, there's all the overview, the outline of what we're going to ask from you. So we're going to want to know some personal information, some demographic information, and then there's other things like support programs and account settings. We'll get that good academic history in there. We'll know about where you want to start on your path to one or more of us. Start planning on that. It'll show you how to apply for a tag. At that point, you'll need to narrow it down to one campus. And then also some tips on applying for transfer admission. There's also a place for messages to be shared and for record review. You do want to update your planner occasionally, just like you look at your financials and things, make sure that you're getting your college coursework updated in here as well. On the next slide, you're going to see some additional information. So this is where we zoom in on the personal information we're asking for, the kind of demographic information we're asking for, and also to see what your interest might be in support programs. And one of the things I think that's just astonishing about all the UC campuses, we are very deep on resources and support. And I know you have a great start at your community colleges. This is just going to expand and deepen for you. So please think about what extras you might like to have so we can provide those things for you. On the next slide, you'll see the following section, which really gets into the academics. So we want to know what high school you've been in, or multiple high schools perhaps, then the college and university record as well. And this should be able to provide us with an entire history of your work from secondary to post-secondary education. And believe me, we refer back to that all the way up to when you're actually getting ready to start with us. In fact, that's what we're doing on our campus right now. We're going through everybody that we admitted from community colleges in the fall to make sure that you're getting full credit for everything we can give you. Next slide. And in your coursework section, you're going to report all the courses exactly as they're shown in your transcripts, okay? So the exact number, the exact name, the exact department, that really helps keep things in line. From all your institutions, even if you started somewhere and eventually ended up dropping the course, or you only did one course at a particular college, then you bounce somewhere else. It's really, really important to have that continuous thread that shows us where you've been. And make sure that you put your appropriate terms in your institutions. Doesn't hurt to have an unofficial copy of your transcripts in front of you, so you're very precise about this. Also, do not attempt to self-evaluate your work. That means also things like, well, I know that's not a transferable course, so I'm just going to leave that off of there. I didn't do very well in there. Please don't do that to yourself. We will chase you down to make sure we get that information because, again, the continuity of that, the legalities of it, we want to make sure we have a nice, smooth record of everything that you've done. Next slide, please. And here's a close-up on what that My Coursework would look like. It's ASSIST certified, so courses that will also be on the ASSIST repository can be accessed through here. So if you're planning a course, if a course is in progress, if you finished it, what was the grade, gets your units in there, and this really helps make a very precise academic advising process for you. Next slide, please. And then taking a little zoom out from here, you see how it might look and how we get that whole record in here for you, which is really beautiful and useful for you and helps us make sure that there's no duplication of courses. Sometimes even the fall when we're going to go through, if we happen to see it, we may contact a student and say, hey, you're not going to get credit for this because it's a repeat of something. So we can actually save you time, energy, and money when you provide everything in there, and we can advise you more thoroughly through this process. And you'll see on the right how this goes in for this class, this coursework at College of Alameda, for example, all those different things in there, the course number, the subject, the title. So again, very precise. And what we'll get together is like a big combination of all your transcript records. Next slide. Thank you. So here it'll show the number of certified courses that are on ASSIST. If anybody's not seen ASSIST before, you can go out and look at assist.org, and this is the statewide translation system, if you will, the articulation system that Fabian was talking about. Also, we look at your non-ASSIST certified courses, so things that weren't transferable, but you might have taken for your own pleasure, or you might have taken to pursue a certificate or something that's a little bit more technical or practical, but not research oriented. So we really want to know about all that work. And then we were going to look specifically at that foundation work that is established by you taking that 7-course pattern. As Fabian was saying, that is the place where you build everything from for us towards those 60 units. Next slide, please. And what about exams? And so if you worked extra hard in high school and you were taking some AP coursework and you in fact decided to take the exams, we generally give credit for courses 3, 4, and 5 of scores. Not always, but that's kind of a general rule on there. Something to keep in mind is each UC campus can decide exactly how they want to use those scores. So don't assume that that chemistry 4 is going to work for all the UC campuses. And the way you check that out is to go to the UC campus catalog at the campus of your choice and type in AP chart, and it will tell you exactly how that campus utilizes those scores. Then we also get an exam summary and we see how many units you get towards your 60 unit level through here, and also see if any of those courses are satisfying your UC eligibility pattern. Okay, next slide. And there's some nice resources, I think, for you, perhaps in the chat, supporting what we just discussed there. And then here, this is really where you get to start telling us about your dreams, you know, what you want to be doing. So there's the section on the My Transfer Plan, what your goal is for the term and the year that you want to achieve your transfer, which campuses you're thinking about. You might be interested in several of us right now. We'd be delighted. So you get to tell us about that, and we're not going to think it's odd if you have different majors per campus. You're doing some research, you're looking at our specialties, our reputation, what we can offer you. So we might see a variety there, and we're not going to think that's strange at all. And you'll see on the right, you're following down that progression of information that you provide. On the next slide, please. I'm going to hand it back to Fabian, and I'm going to go back to Q&A and see what I stirred up there as far as the information that you're intrigued by now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline, for just being amazing and an amazing co-lead. Okay, let's talk about the transfer admissions guarantee. So once you've actually created your TAP, your planner, it will help us really just be ready to submit the tag, as Jacqueline just referenced. So there's 6 out of the 9 undergraduate UC campuses that offer tag, and you could refer to the tag matrix, another term you're going to hear, to learn more about what each campus criteria is, and we'll be dropping the link in the chat in a bit. And it's super important to note here that the tag requirements may change each year, and they're different, maybe from campus to campus or major to major, right? So therefore, it is super important to use the most recent information. So students can tag to only one UC campus, but can apply to as many as they choose. So some campuses also offer tag outside of the fall term. So for example, I believe Merced allows for spring tag, and then Riverside has allowed for winter, though I believe they do limit the majors that you could tag during those particular terms. So all of the tag information that is presented is based on the tag criteria for students who are applying for the fall 2026 admission cycle. And it's super important to check each cycle for updated information, because requirements can change from year to year. Typically, the tag updates are published around here, around July, so mid-July. Okay. So UC tag eligibility is available for any student transferring directly from a California community college, a CCC. So in order to be eligible for tag, the last school you've attended prior to transfer must be a California community college. You cannot be cross-enrolled or dual enrolled at one 4-year institution and a non-California community college. And you also may have to make sure that you've completed at least 30 semester units or 45 quarter of units of your coursework must be from a CCC. If you were previously enrolled at a UC and wish to return to that UC, you could not apply through the tag process or the regular admissions process. Any former UC student will need to apply through the process called readmissions, and that is through the registrar's office and separate from the process that we're talking about today. We'll be adding this in the chat in a bit, but the tag matrix is not a next like blockbuster amazing movie. It's actually a great resource for you to see an overview of the tag criteria from all 6 of the tag campuses. So the link that we have here is the criteria that students who are applying for the fall 26 tag. And the tag matrix typically gets updated, as I referenced, around July. If So I would suggest to check back mid-year of 2026 if you're aiming for the fall of 2027. So if you're not sure if you qualify for tag, so you could always reach out to the UC representative of the tag campus that you are interested in. So we'll add the tag matrix link in the chat in a bit. So as I referenced earlier, 30 transferable semester units or 45 quarter need to be completed by the tag submission date, so September, okay? And they have to be done, these units have to be done by the end of the summer term, okay? 60 units need to be completed by the end of the spring term prior to transfer. So you cannot finish them over the summer. So visualize this with me. By the end of August, let's say, you would need to have at least 30 units done, right, to submit a tag. September, you will submit a tag with the condition that this fall and spring of 2026, you will have the 60 units completed, right? So it's super important to tell us what you're planning to take, right? Some campuses that do a pre-tag evaluation, such as Davis and Merced, these campuses will review your tag application and really just your planner to let us know whether or not you're approved or would be approved your tag around mid-November. All other UC campuses do not do a pre-evaluation. They send one final admissions decision come spring. So regardless of whether or not the campus you tag does a pre-evaluation, you really must submit the UC application by the December 1st deadline, and make sure that you actually tell us what your fall grades were and then your spring classes through the transfer academic update. So it's called the TAU. And we'll be dropping a couple links in the chat for you all. So if you're applying to tag that does a pre-evaluation and you want to wait to apply for the UC application or submit your UC application, I would suggest to just wait till we actually release our tag decision to include that information in the next couple steps. So we're going to continue to talk about tag eligibility for fall of 26. So again, you must submit a tag application through the transfer admissions planner between September 1st and September 30th. Next, you'll submit a UC application between October 1st and December 1st. To note, August 1st is the UC application is going to open, so you could start chipping away at sections of that application early, but you'll only be able to submit it between October 1st and December 1st. Okay. And as I referenced earlier, your tag major and your application major must match the major that you tagged into. So for example, you tagged for economics for Davis, and then in your UC application, when you select Davis, you also have to make sure that you click economics. If you pick a different major than the one that you submitted for tag, then we're just going to go off the new information and focus our attention in just your general UC admissions application. The other thing, as I referenced earlier, is super important to submit your transfer academic update by the deadline, not after, but definitely before the deadline. And you have to meet all campus-specific tag criteria. And some campuses conduct a pre-evaluation, and as I referenced earlier, we will notify students mid-November. So here's a range of the GPA requirements by tag campus. So each tag campus really just sets their own GPA requirements. Some have an overall GPA requirement and some are very specific by major. So just keep in mind that there's additional GPA requirements within specific coursework that you may need. So it is possible that this information could change because most of the current tag criteria may not be posted on their official websites. So just be patient with the time period when these websites are being updated. I'll go over specifically UC Davis tag requirements in the next slide. So again, I'm just going to cover a little bit of the minimum. Here's an overall snapshot of what UC Davis is asking for tag eligibility. The minimum tag criteria, the minimum tag GPA for Davis is a 3.2 for non-engineering majors. If you're aiming towards a major in the College of Engineering, then you are going to need a 3.5 GPA. Okay. So for UC Davis tag, we require that students be solely enrolled in a California community college system. And really just requires students who are thinking of tagging to really just connect with us to make sure that they're up to date with the latest information. And then please note that students must meet all of these criteria in order to stay qualified: units, GPA, 7-course pattern, and if your major is considered selective, making sure that you have that, you meet that criteria. So every campus, as I referenced earlier, has a specific coursework or a GPA requirement for admissions, and they really vary by campus. I'll be going over a list of what UC Davis refers as selective majors. And if you're applying to a selective major, you must make sure that you're completing all the required coursework by the end of the last term, in this case, spring, at your community college, because summer coursework will not be taken into consideration when we are determining admissions decisions. And again, your major and your GPA in that major, you must meet at the time that you're submitting these applications. So for example, you really, if you're going to be submitting a tag application this September, ensuring that you have the coursework that is required of you for your major scheduled out. If I don't know that this is coming, then I can't take those units or coursework into consideration or add them to your contract come mid-November when we release the tag decision. Okay. So we'll be dropping the link in the chat, but you could also scan the QR code. So while we offer about 100+ majors, undergraduate majors, there's a handful of majors that we considered selective. So if you're interested in this list here, you have to pay close attention to our selective major requirements and really just prioritize completing that coursework over some other general education courses. So before I dig a little bit deeper in the next few slides, really, you should be taking the courses that are comparable to the UC Davis course as long as it's being offered at your community college that you attend. Again, we could use the resource is called assist.org or use the assist website that indicates maybe in the agreement that there's no course comparable or not articulated. The selective course requirement will be waived at UC Davis for tag and admissions, but you must complete it after enrolling at UC Davis. So you can find the appropriate or equivalent CCC course that are comparable to the UC Davis course by using the Assist website. So now I'm going to go over a couple of examples for you all. So as we know, in order for us to determine course or, equivalency at your community college, again, use Assist. But here's a little bit of an overview of what we're looking for. So let's start with biotechnology. So for the calculus general chem series and then the general biology series, you're required and you must achieve at least a 2.5 GPA in each of those series. So if we think about it this way, let's say you're taking Calc 1, right? And you get a C. And then the second class, you get another C. In just your Calc series, that's a 2.0, you're not hitting that minimum requirement for each series. So one of those grades has to be a B, right? So you have to balance that out. So your first grade could be a B and the second one could be a C, as long as it's a 2.5 in each of those series, okay? I'm going to go over a couple more examples and then we'll pivot our attention to a different example. So for managerial economics, similar um, uh, micro, macro, along with your calc series and statistics. And they're asking for a 2.0 in at least each of these series. So for example, you get C's across the board, you will be fine, right? If you are not going to meet the requirements, then I would suggest looking at alternative majors. The one that I always remind students of, traditionally, if they're interested in managerial economics, it's usually like a business related area of studies. So I always suggest sociology and organizational studies, just because that area has a business track without all that calculus. So if you're not into math, that might be a good option for you, right? There's also international relations, human development, management and restoration. There's a handful of other majors that have those specific specializations that may be a better fit for you as well. So for viticulture, we're asking students to achieve at least a 3.0 and the entire group. So all of your grades added up in your chem, calc, physics, and bio have to equal at least a 3.0. So I'm proposing B's are better, right? Maybe one C, but like you really have to get an A somewhere else. So it's a balancing act. If you're aiming towards a major in the College of Biological Sciences, all of our majors in the College of Bio have the exact same criteria. So students must achieve a minimum of a 2.5 in their calculus series, their general chem series, and also their general bio. So again, 2 C's in general chem 1 and 2 is going to get you a 2.0. You're out of the running for that particular major. We need to start looking and talking about an alternative major to apply for, right? The beauty about coming to an R1 or like a research institution is there's so many other majors that are not biology that still center a lot of the concepts around biology or the specializations. A couple of options if you're not going to meet the minimum selected major requirements, SMR, selected major requirements for biosci, then I would propose looking into global disease biology. You could look in animal science, just to name a few, or even cognitive science. A couple of other majors that students don't consider because they haven't looked at the catalog yet. For engineering, it's a little bit more complex, but the majority of the engineering program, you all have to take calculus, differential equations, and linear algebra. Physics is required for most, except the environmental engineering, and then chemistry is depending if it's all of the chem series or just the first round of chem. Again, we have to look at the chart and really just determine like what is required of you. But the minimum GPA for the general admissions requirements for engineering is a 3.1 overall in all of your UC transferable coursework. But just in your major preparation courses, you have to have at least a 3.2. And for those that are interested in guaranteeing their admissions to a major in the engineering field, you have to maintain at least a 3.5 overall in all of your UC transferable courses, plus a 3.5 in your major specific courses. So we'll be dropping the link in the chat in a bit. The most popular that I tend to see is computer science. Again, it's not available to guarantee your admissions to here at Davis. But all students that are interested in applying to computer science, the computer science major, can apply through the regular admissions process by submitting their UC application by the December 1st deadline. And the minimum overall GPA to be considered for computer science, again, the minimum is a 3.1 to throw your application in. And students really need to achieve at least a 3.4 in their calculus series and in their computer science courses. So really just like a handful of A's, maybe a B plus, because no C's in here at all, because that's going to drag your GPA down because there's not going to be enough units to complete. So again, If you're not going to meet the GPA requirement for a selective major like computer science, I would suggest cognitive science with a computational emphasis because it has a lot of the concepts that you cover in computer science, but it doesn't have the pressure or the list of courses that you absolutely need with a specific GPA. So be open, right? Be open to the other opportunities too. Another major or a couple majors that are in our math major field are required to take the entire full calculus series, linear algebra, and differential equations. And you also have to have a 3.0 in the entire group of classes. So again, all of these grades added up together have to equal a 3.0. On our end, we will be able to calculate that when we're looking at your planner during a one-on-one appointment. Let me click on the last one here. The last few is data science. So here's another major that's not available for TAG, but you would need the entire group GPA of a 3.2 in your engineering, computer science, engineering, calc, the other math classes as well. Okay. And then lastly, or actually there's two more. Economics is the other super popular major. So for econ, we're asking for the calc series plus your econ classes, micro and macro, and you're also going to need at least a 2.5 in the entire group of classes added up together. Those grades, so B average, maybe 1 or 2 C's, you might be able to get away with. My rule of thumb, the higher the unit the class is, the better the grade needs to be. Applied physics, same concept, entire group has to equal at least a 3.0. And then our most popular that I tend to see is psychology. This gets a little tricky, so let me break it down to you. For general psychology, statistics, biology are required for the major, but it's important that if you're aiming towards a BS, a Bachelor's of Science, then you should be taking the equivalent of the biology 2A at your community college, which is basically like a heavier bio class. If you're like, you know what, Fabian, I think I'm going to stick with just a BA in psychology, then you would need to take the equivalent of biology 10 and another science class. So most of my students like to take anthropology 1. Again, you either do one heavy bio class or you do 2 rounds of science. And you also need a 2.9 GPA across the board. So that means all of these grades added up together, you might get away with like 1 C, but the other ones really have to be a B so that you hit at least at that 3.0 or I'm sorry, 2.9 GPA for the entire group. If you're not going to meet the GPA requirement, again, I would encourage you to consider sociology, again, cognitive science as a Bachelor's of Arts, human development, anthropology, communication studies. I mean, there's an abundance of majors to choose from, and you could always minor in psychology without the pressure of having these very specific requirements. Okay. I'm going to throw this in here real quick. Landscape architecture is not a selective major. It's not part of the ones that you have to have certain things done. But I listed here because I want you to at least be mindful of what you need in order to apply for the pre-landscape architecture program. And you must submit a portfolio after enrolling at UC Davis. And we'll be dropping the link in the chat so that you could understand the application process if you were interested in the pre-landscape architecture major. Okay. Are we in time? Okay. So let me talk about the tag process. So thank you so much for hanging in there. We just went over the admissions criteria. We went over tag. We went over UC Davis requirements, right? We went over the things that you need for a selective major. Now I want to switch back real quick to talking about the planner and how you would submit your tag application. So back in your planner, you'll click on apply for the transfer admissions guarantee, which is on the right-hand side menu. It will take you to a page where you'll start your tag application. You will really just, this application should take you no more than like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. basically you're just going to indicate the tag term, the campus, and your current community college, along with the term and year that you plan to transfer for your UC tag campus. Okay. Next, you will need to select your tag major and really read through the fall 2026 tag checklist. If there are no errors, you could start your tag submission process. And if there are errors, you have to go back and make sure that you update your coursework selection or fix any errors that might populate like in a red box and really just show on the screen like the submission review box. And then once you fix those errors, you could go back to that section and then save it, and then you could start your tag submission. Step 1 of the tag process will ask you for you to review what you have selected and the correct term, the campus, the major, the college, and filling out the information. You will also be asked if you use the transformation path, if you're aiming towards the transfer pathway or pathway plus to prepare for transfer. If you did not, you can just leave it blank, and leaving it blank will not impact your tag decision. There's additional comment box that you can use to add any comments that you have regarding your tag application or coursework. Again, you're not submitting your personal insight question responses. We're not asking about parents' income. We're not asking about education. We're not asking anything. This tag application is just about you. Step 2 will require you to review and confirm the following tag items in the tag submission checklist. And you must agree to each of the item and then check off individually before you could proceed to step 3. So make sure that you're reading it carefully. Step 3, your tag information will be shown, and you will need to confirm that the campus, the major, and the college and the term that you're submitting for tag are correct. And then once your tag is submitted, you will not be able to change the information. And I hope that everything looks good, and then you could click submit my tag now. And then step 4 is the UC application survey, and the survey will get you an idea. There's really what you might be interested in applying to. It does not impact your tag or admissions decision at all. And then lastly, you will be provided with a confirmation of the tag when you have submitted. So you may print a copy for your records or log back in and look at your planner to see your tag filled status. So as long as you submit it before or by the September 30th deadline, then the entire month of October we will spend reviewing all of your tags or the tag applications to try to get you an answer specifically for Davis if we're going to approve it around mid-November. So I'm going to go over a couple of resources for you all. Again, we're going to be using the chat to drop a couple links. So stay with me. So one of the services that you could tap into is us here in the top team. So the Transfer Opportunity Program works with 42 partnering community colleges. And we offer various resources and really just assist students through the majority of our time is by scheduling one-on-one appointments with their top advisor. So please make sure that you follow the steps that are necessary to update your planner, and then make sure that you follow the steps to schedule an appointment. The second thing that we do a lot is host several workshops like the one we're doing today. And then we'll be focusing a lot more in the fall to prepare those that are interested in transferring. We're going to go over the UC application. We're going to go over the personal insight questions, the PIQs. We will highlight our college and the major information to help students prepare through the admissions process. And then lastly, we also collaborate with our colleagues in our unit in undergraduate admissions to provide webinars just like this. So shout out to Jacqueline for being available today. So we'll be adding the undergraduate events tab, or I'm sorry, registration link in the chat in a bit. You've heard us mention it multiple times, but again, assist.org is going to be your best friend. We will be utilizing it a lot. to make sure that you're taking the appropriate course. Your planner, no online plan, no application. Simple as that. We'll be adding the AP and IB chart so that you understand what credit will or will not be granted. We'll be adding the tag matrix, which is the breakdown of all the 6 participating UCs that have tag. And then we'll be adding the top website link for you all. So if you haven't used Assist before, here's a little bit of a preview of what it looks like. So you could explore articulation agreements and transferable coursework. And again, this screenshot is basically the home page. And when you click on Assist, you would select that you're interested in transfer in that middle section. You'll make sure that you have the current academic year. You can look at the articulation agreements in an area that you can view, let's say, the lower division coursework for, let's say, a Cal State or even a UC campus that is equivalent to your community college course. You could look at the transferable area. That is where you could view the courses that are transferable from your community college, specifically to the CSU or the UC system. So we'll be adding assist.org to the chat in a bit. And if you notice, there's another box on the right-hand side, but I wanted to focus just the one in the middle right now, which is the articulation area. So when you're looking here, it's super important that you could select a major, and it will provide you a report to look at all your lower division course options for your major that are equivalent or have equivalency at your community college. It's important to really read through the entire report, not just look at everything that's listed, and make sure that you are paying attention to the different sections. So you really should be doing or looking at this and really meet with your community college counselor or transfer center folks, or even the school representative of the institution that you're interested in, to make sure that you're correctly interpreting these reports and understand the admissions requirements. So if you want to explore further and find out about upper division courses for the major that you can take to transfer, you should really go directly to the school, the university's website, and look at the catalog. The catalog will list not only the lower division requirements, but also the coursework for your major, in which you can also view and assist, but also all upper division coursework, which can only be taken at that specific UC after you transfer. The other section, which is the one on the right-hand side, this menu gives you the opportunity to view all transferable courses in the area of assist that you could look for at your community college. And it really lists pretty much every transferable CSU or UC course. You can pull the full list or just search by department or even the prefix of the course. The course and these reports are what we include in our transfer GPA in units. So if the course is not listed, then it's not UC transferable, right? If there's a symbol next to the course, usually a little asterisk or a little cross or a little number sign, that usually means that there's a footnote with additional information for you to look up. So if you want to look up that course, that means that the 7-course pattern for admissions to UC, you could click on the UC transfer admissions eligibility courses, right? And for those of you that are aiming towards completing all your general education, you can look at the CalGETC report, and it will break down all the courses from your community college that meet that specific requirement, so that you know that you're taking the correct course. What you'll notice, this is kind of hot off the press, what you'll notice is that the common course numbering, so across all 116 communities, they're calling the exact same English course the exact same thing. So English C1000 and then English C1001. And then you'll see it for other subjects. So statistics, I've seen it for some history classes. So the list of you're going to know that that class is the same regardless of the community college that you go to. So you know that that class is transferable to the UC. Okay. So they're trying to make things easier for all of us. I'm going to throw another resource here. So for my Los Medanos has partnered with assist.org to share this really great tool that you could explore majors, and you could click on the LMC Transfer Bound Transfer Major Explorer on Assist, and it will take you to the Transfer Major Explorer page for Los Medanos from the Los Medanos College website. And then on the left, you can look at the areas of interest and you could select, let's say, the discipline. There's also an example selected, for example, for architecture and environmental design. And then it shows you the areas of interest, and landscape architecture as a discipline might pop up. And then below that, you could see all the other CSU and UC majors that are offered in that specific area. So again, so if you're interested in exploring a little bit more what you want to study at each of these institutions that are out there, you could find more about the major that is listed with this tool. Let's see. So again, another great resource. So if you haven't visited us here at UC Davis, please do so. You could go to our website to reserve a spot. You can also take our student developed virtual tour anytime. It's a great way to experience not only our campus, but please go visit all the campuses that you're interested in. You could also find some great blog posts about, what can I do with my major, or, what can I do with my future career in this particular area. And you could find that information, especially for parents and family members, super helpful. And then lastly, I cannot go out without saying timelines are super important. So as I referenced earlier, August 1st, we're going to be opening up the UC application. So again, you can get started at it. September 1st through the 30th, you'll be able to submit your UC application, or I'm sorry, your tag application. And then we will notify you of your tag decision specifically for Davis around mid-November. And then you'll be able to submit your UC application between October 1st and December 1st. And then in January of 2026, you'll be able to submit your transfer academic update. So again, telling us what were your grades in the fall and then what you're planning to do in the spring. And there's a couple of other deadlines that are super crucial, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I do want to invite you all for some upcoming events. Next week, actually, we're hosting our Discover Your UC. Actually, today, we've already hosted our Discover UC in Irvine, UCLA. We're there in Riverside. Next week, Berkeley, Merced, and Santa Barbara, and the following week, Davis, San Diego, and Santa Cruz. So we'll be dropping these links in the chat so you could get to learn more about each of these campuses. So huge thank you. If you want to learn more, please stay in touch. Huge thank you to all of you for joining us today. We will be posting this webinar on our YouTube page. I invite you all to the upcoming webinar in August. We will start to review the UC application. And sorry for the folks that didn't get a chance to get their question answered, but we did the best that we could. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you, Sydney. Thank you so much, Emily. Take care.
Thanks,